Welcome to William Tells, an insightful look inside the private music studio. This program is brought to you from Pedal Point Music in Atlanta, Georgia. Well, hello, my friend, and welcome today to another episode of William Tells. I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm Will Suit, and I own Pedal Point Music in Atlanta, Georgia, where we explore the world of music daily with students young and old. Today, I hope you'll stay tuned as we delve into another very interesting topic at William Tells. Before we get started, though, feel free to share our information with your friends and family. You can find Pedal Point Music on the web at www.pedalpointmusic.com. You can see what we're all about there. And if you're in the area, maybe you'll want to sign up for lessons. We have some good teachers here, and we'd love to be involved with you and your musical education. If you would like to contact us at William Tells, WILLIAMTELLS, William Tells, at pedalpointmusic.com. And Pedal Point Music is spelled PEDALPOINTMUSIC. pedalpointmusic.com. Love to hear from you. Maybe you'll have an idea for a future topic that we should cover on this program. We've covered quite a few already in a few months since we've started, and we could cover a few more. So bring it on. We'll take your idea and run with it maybe, or maybe we'll have you on to talk about your topic. I'm sitting in my office today. It's a little noisier than when I go into my studio and record. So if you hear some background noise, it's probably a teacher coming in prepping for a lesson, or my chair squeaking, or the phone ringing. Who knows? I'm in an office. But today, I want to talk about protocol. Years ago, I remember seeing a movie called Protocol, and you've probably seen it. It was kind of a humorous movie about someone who gets involved in politics and government, and they are involved with diplomacy and helping politicians do things properly. I've seen books written on the subject as well, on how to do things. Do you shake your hands? With your someone you're meeting, do you bow? Are there certain gestures you avoid in certain countries? Are there phrases we're used to that you don't use? There are certain ways to do certain things. Well, that's true as well when it comes to the music studio. And I'm going to speak to a couple of subjects today. And the first one is going to be of greatest interest, I think. And I'm going to have some words for parents and students, as well as instructors. And I'm going to address it from the standpoint of Pedal Point Music, but I'll also venture into some other situations that might match yours more readily and maybe give you some ideas that'll work for you. So the first thing I want to talk about today is a waiting area. And the first thing I want to address, or the first people I want to address in this, are instructors. Do you have a waiting area for your parents and the siblings of your students? If you're teaching out of your home, you may or may not have a place for people to wait. They may be sitting in the car waiting for you to teach a child. They may be sitting in the next room or in the same room with you. Nonetheless, wherever that person waits, needs to have a sense of protocol about it, and it needs to be suggested. I'm learning this lesson the hard way. I want people to be very welcome at Pedal Point Music when they arrive here. So when they walk into that lobby of mine, it's almost like walking into a living room somewhat. And we have a business space right now, so making that area feel that way is very important to me, because I can recall studying music in commercial locations, and it really puts up some apprehension in the mind of the student and the parents waiting because it feels so professional when you walk in. Well, we're definitely developing some professionals, but we're all human. And so that waiting area, in our case, has been designed around the people I assume are going to be using it. I've watched the clientele as we've developed here, and there are families sitting out there sometimes. But more often than not, it's a mom or dad and a sibling, maybe two siblings. So to have expensive art pieces of any kind, it's really impractical out there. To have hard furniture and fixtures is somewhat hazardous and unwelcoming in that particular lobby, although I can see where it would be appropriate. But for our environment, it's a little warmer atmosphere. Our instructors tend to build a relationship with the child musically and professionally that's approachable and a little bit more down to earth, depending on their level of study. Sometimes that child is at a point now where we're very, very, very seriously engaged in the music, and time is of the essence, so there's less warmth and more drive toward accomplishing the music. But I think for the most part, we have beginners and intermediate students, and they're still on the approachable level. And I laugh because my students are quite conversational most of the time, and I have to discipline myself not to engage in too much conversation, because we have a lot of work to do to help these young musicians reach their goals. So the lobby, back to the lobby, is equipped with a couch, a very comfortable upholstered chair, and then two semi-formal upholstered chairs, and then two straight chairs. And that's intentional. I want people to feel like we're accommodating them, but I also want to spread people around. If I have too much of the same thing or cluster the seating in one area in the lobby, more people tend to stand up or seem to be uncomfortable in the lobby. So spreading that area around is very important, so that everyone is comfortably seated and enjoying their time of waiting. I don't know how your studio is, but sound carries through walls, even with the best of soundproofing, because as a piano teacher or an owner of a piano studio like this, you don't always have the money to fully soundproof a room. You do your best and go from there. Well, students should be able to play with some distraction. But if the lobby is very noisy, it distracts from the educational environment. And so we've put books there. Initially, I had a TV there. I subscribed to a television service and tried to have on kids shows. And I wound up nurturing a rather active lobby, which is not what we really want, because it disrupts the teaching. And I discovered this. These young parents are really good parents. They're insisting, at least at my studio anyway, most of my parents insist that their children sit down and do their homework or read or play quietly. Now, that's not to say that occasionally you have a rambunctious child, and that's good. They're full of energy. They're going to make great musicians someday. But they can be disruptive. I don't mean to be. They're just being themselves. So I make sure that there's a table over in the corner, and parents are welcome to bring coloring sheets and let them color or write, or they can go over to the bookshelf, which is full of children's books, and pull over books and read them and do projects and things out there. That helps keep the lobby in order and somewhat quiet. Now, you can communicate quiet as well and what you want without being rude to people. I'm always very careful not to walk out and scold my parents. I mean, they are the parents. They're the ones that have sought you out or sought me out for lessons, and they are paying the bills to keep this place open. So I want them to be happy. So I'm not going to run out there and scream at a parent for having a noisy child or for talking loud themselves. I would, however, approach a parent very graciously and say, you know what, we're having a hard time hearing. Can you guys read or do something quieter today? It's very, very fine line what you say. And you as a parent should listen to this, because you don't always realize that lobby seems isolated, but you don't always realize how sound might carry from the living room maybe of your instructor, or a lobby of a business, or the next room in a church or synagogue where you're studying. Always be considerate, even if it's not your child, that someone is trying to focus next door. So the lobby is designed around comfort and quietness. And let me say this, I also change this out occasionally, but I have a sign up right now with a kid shushing and saying, "Quiet, please, I'm trying to focus on my lesson." And it's funny, but it gets the point across to everyone sitting there. Oh, enjoy this lobby quietly. Let's go to the protocol of the studio. How should things be in a studio? These are my opinions. These podcasts are almost always my opinions of things, and see them as such. If you disagree, I respect that. And your studio is your studio. Do it the way you feel is best. But let me tell you, you should have some protocols in place, and your students should understand them if you want them to respect them. You cannot expect them to read your mind on this. I'm wetting my whistle, sorry. I sometimes wish people could read my mind, but people don't know what I'm thinking, and I have to make that clear to them. And I have to do it in a nice way. But I've learned when people walk in for the first time, they're feeling out the studio, especially the student, and they're seeing what they have permission to do and what they should not do. So I found that's a great opportunity, not just to start teaching how to sit at the piano or how to stand at the music stand when you're singing, but also how to behave in my room and what I expect. And if you lay it out very clearly and nicely at the beginning, you're more likely, I think, to have success in enforcing that as you move along, because it's already been established, and it's not a big surprise a few weeks down the road when a line is crossed and you say, "Hey, wait a minute, we don't do that like this in this room." So establish what you expect in the way of behavior in your house, your studio, your store, your school, whatever. Establish that clearly with your student and the parents up front. Number 2, also make clear what your protocol is to the parents so that they're at ease as far as being welcomed or not into the studio during the lesson. I, for one, always tell the parents, you are always welcome to sit in on your child's lesson. I do not close the door to the parents. If they want to sit there, fine. If they disrupt me, I can deal with that quietly later, not in front of the child. You don't want the child seeing you disagreeing with their parents. But you can talk to the parent later and say, you know what, I think you should let me try and work this out, and maybe you can reinforce it at home. Be diplomatic with it. I recommend that you have a window into your studio, or leave the door open if it's in your home into the studio. There are so many quote unquote safe sanctuary reasons for this. You want that child's safety and comfort to be the priority of being in your place. That comes first. You want the parents to feel safe studying in your school or studio, and you want the child to be at ease with being in your presence. Establish territory. Now, this is one that some people like, some people don't. But the extent of ever touching a student should only be to help them put their fingers in place or get their wrists right. And then you should tell them you're going to do it. You, in my opinion, should establish an invisible barrier. You sit there and they are there on the bench or at the music stand. And this establishes professionalism. It puts the student at ease. It puts the parents at ease, and it helps everyone focus on what you're there to do. And there's so many reasons that I won't get into for this right now, but just trust me, and I think you know very well, in this day and time especially, and any day and time, but in this day and time especially, you need to make sure that you have a safe place for your students to study and that your parents feel comfortable that is safe. And on that note, I don't think you should ever be alone with your student in your studio, school, or home teaching. Always insist that your parent wait there in the next room or in the same room or whatever. That's just good common sense for working with children and helping them get a great education from you. So there's that protocol on understanding your place in the studio and helping the student understand his or her place in their place in your studio. That's all the time we have today. I hope you've enjoyed listening to William Tells. If you have, write me. I'd love to hear from you. No one writes anymore, do they? But you can email me. Email me at wrong address. Let me do that again. Email me at williamtells, WILLIAMTELLS, William Tells, at pedalpointmusic.com. William Tells at pedalpointmusic.com. And as I said earlier, you can learn more about William Tells as well as all that we do at Pedal Point Music by going to www.pedalpointmusic.com. Until next time, remember that music is the constant voice beneath the progressions of life. William Tells is a production of Pedal Point Music in Atlanta, Georgia.